Hi, I'm Patrick Van Hull. Welcome back to 3 Minutes of Supply Chain. Following our discussion about how supply chain is putting people to work, this session will examine the growing need for skill development and career progression opportunities. The data for today comes from two sources: DHL's 2018 research brief entitled The Supply Chain Talent Shortage from Gap to Crisis, and also global supply chain and logistic recruitment firm DSJ Global's Job Confidence Index for 2020. As described in the previous session, most of the current conversation about talent centers on hiring in operationally focused roles, such as those performing packing and loading in warehouses, and those actually delivering product. These entry-level positions are typically easy to hire for, and according to the DHL brief, even acquiring operationally and technically competent employees is moderately easy, at least when compared to the other groups in this chart. The curve shifts more toward difficult for acquiring those with professional competencies and finding those with blended operational and professional skill sets. Even more so, where almost 85% of respondents rated this difficulty as a 4 or 5 on a 5-point scale. As difficult as it may be to acquire and or develop the skill sets that combine professional and operational competencies, it's widely agreed that they will be desired in tomorrow's supply chain leaders. However, converting that understanding to job satisfaction and compelling career paths is quite difficult. In fact, the DSJ report tells us that employees are more likely to leave their current employers than stay with them, especially in the US. Salary increases are part of the reason why, but other factors are also motivating employees. In both the US and EMEA, employees are seeking to grow their career, particularly through new and challenging opportunities. They're not seeing these types of opportunities in their own companies, so it can be easy for them to become convinced that they'd be better served elsewhere. So what are supply chain leaders doing about this? Well, one, an important theme to supply chain transformation is to not just try to do the same thing, but better. Rather, it's time to reimagine the entire operating and organizational model for the supply chain. Companies are frustrated that supply chain employees aren't developing in the way that they'd like, and employees aren't happy with the development models they're presented with. So one approach to that development is to define the core personas that will be needed in the future supply chain. This graphic is a simplified version of what's included in an EY Kinaxis white paper defining how style and mindsets can be blended in a way that both serves the company and the employee. Finally, it's time to redefine the roles. The future supply chain needs both professional and operational competencies. To make that happen, it's time to move away from traditional roles and siloed processes. Instead of demand and supply planners, look to implement something like a network planner role that gives greater visibility and autonomy to a planner while empowering them to make the best decisions for the business in every moment. Creating the skills for the future requires a commitment from leaders that starts right now. It's a commitment that will create compelling career and developmental paths that will keep employees engaged as they become both professionally and operationally competent leaders themselves.